The alarm bells rang loud across the bridge of the Earth ship, UAS Ranger. Captain Jake Morrison jumped from his chair and ran to the communications desk. His crew was already working fast to find out what was wrong. "What do we have, Lieutenant?" Jake asked the young woman at the radio controls. "Sir, we're getting a signal from deep space. It's not from any human ship or station," Lieutenant Amy Foster replied. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "The signal is weak, but it's definitely alien." Jake felt his heart beat faster. In his 10 years as a space captain, he had never heard an alien message. Earth had only made contact with other worlds 5 years ago. Most aliens seemed to avoid humans. "Can you clean up the signal?" Jake asked. Amy worked for several minutes. Slowly, the static cleared. What they heard next made everyone on the bridge go silent. The voice was not human. It sounded like water flowing over rocks, but somehow they could understand the words. The ship's computer was translating the alien language. "This is Coral Singer Meln of the Zephyrian people. Our world is dying. Our cities burn. Children cry in fear. The Vorthan Empire has come to make us slaves. You're peaceful people. You have no weapons to fight them. Please, if anyone hears this message, help us. We are on the world your people call Kepler-44 to be. Time is running out. Our people are dying every day." The message repeated over and over. Jake could hear the fear and sadness in the alien's voice. It was like listening to someone's last words before they died. "How far away is Kepler-44 to be?" Jake asked his navigation officer. "It's about 12 light years from here, sir." "It would take us 3 days to get there with our fastest engines," came the reply. Jake walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Outside, stars filled the black space. Somewhere out there, innocent people were dying. The captain had a choice to make. "Amy, send a message back to Earth Command. Tell them about the signal." "I want to know what they want us to do," Jake ordered. "Already done, sir. But it will take hours to get an answer. The message has to travel a long way," Amy said. Jake thought about the crying voice and the alien message. Hours might be too long to wait. People could die while they waited for orders from Earth. "Sir, should we change course and head toward the alien world?" asked Lieutenant Tom Hayes, the ship's pilot. Before Jake could answer, another crew member spoke up. "Captain, I'm getting more information about this Vorthan Empire. Our computer has some files about them." Jake turned to listen. What he heard made his blood run cold. "The Vorthans are bad news, sir. They're a warrior race that takes over other worlds. They make the people they beat into slaves. They destroy anyone who fights back. Our files say they have taken over at least 50 worlds in the last 100 years. The bridge went quiet again. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The Zephyrians didn't stand a chance against such a powerful enemy. "Captain, we're getting a reply from Earth Command," Amy said. "Admiral Lisa Kane wants to talk to you right away." The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Kane appeared, sitting in her office on Earth. She was a tall woman with gray hair and serious eyes. Jake had worked with her before and knew she was fair but tough. "Jake, I've heard the alien message." "This is a difficult situation," the Admiral said. "The Zephyrians are asking for help, but we don't know much about this war. Getting involved could be dangerous for Earth." "I understand, Admiral. But these people are going to die if someone doesn't help them," Jake replied. Admiral Kane nodded slowly. "I know. That's why I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. But that will take time. I need you to go to Kepler-44 to be in. See what's happening. Don't engage the enemy. Just gather information and report back." "What about the Zephyrians, Admiral? Should we try to save some of them?" "Save who you can, but don't risk your ship or crew."
Oh.
"The Ranger is not a warship. You have maybe 300 people on board. There are millions of aliens who need help. You can't save them all." Jake felt frustrated. 300 people seemed like nothing when millions were dying, but orders were orders. "I understand, Admiral. We'll head to Kepler-44 to be right away. Be careful, Jake. We don't know what we're dealing with. If these Vorthans are as dangerous as our files say, you might be flying into a trap." The screen went dark. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. "Tom, set course for Kepler-4 for 2B." Maximum speed, Jake commanded. Yes, sir. Course laid in. We'll be there in 3 days. As the Ranger turned toward the distant star system, Jake couldn't stop thinking about the alien voice. Coral singer Melon had sounded so hopeful, like she really believed someone would come to help her people. Jake just hoped they wouldn't be too late during the 3-day journey. The crew prepared for what they might find. Dr. Peter Collins, the ship's doctor, got the medical bay ready to treat alien patients. Amy worked on setting up communication systems to talk with the Zephyrians. The alien messages kept coming every few hours. Each one sounded more desperate than the last. The Vorthons were getting closer to the main cities. Millions of Zephyrians were running for their lives. Jake spent most of his time on the bridge, staring out at the stars. He had joined the space service to explore new worlds and meet new people. He never thought he would have to watch innocent people die. On the morning of the 3rd day, they finally reached Kepler-4 for 2B. What they saw when they dropped out of hyperspace made everyone gasp. The planet was beautiful, covered in blue oceans and green islands. But surrounding it were hundreds of dark, ugly ships. The Vorthon fleet had arrived, and they were already attacking the world below. The U's Ranger moved slowly toward the planet Kepler-4 for to be. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge. Watching the terrible scene in front of them, Vorthon warships filled the space around the beautiful blue world. Bright flashes of weapons fire lit up the darkness as the enemy ships attacked the planet below. How many ships are there? Jake asked his crew. Lieutenant Amy Foster worked at her station, counting the enemy vessels. I count about 200 Vorthon ships, sir. Most of them are big warships. They have the planet completely surrounded. Jake felt sick to his stomach. 200 enemy ships against his one small vessel. The Ranger was not built for fighting. It was an exploration ship with light weapons and shields. Against so many enemies, they would be destroyed in minutes. Are we picking up any signals from the planet? Jake asked. Yes, sir. The Zephyrians are still broadcasting. But the messages are getting weaker. I think their communication systems are being destroyed, Amy replied. On the main screen, they could see the planet's surface. Bright explosions covered the continents as Vorthon weapons struck cities and towns. Huge fires burned across the land. It looked like the end of the world. Captain, I'm getting a message from the Zephyrians. They know we're here, Amy said with excitement in her voice. The alien voice filled the bridge again. But this time, it was speaking directly to them. Human ship. This is Coral Singer Meln. Thank the deep waters. Someone has come. Please, you must help us. The Vorthons are destroying everything. Our people are dying by the thousands.
Ow.
Jake grabbed the communication device. This is Captain Morrison of the Earthship Ranger. We've received your distress call. What is your situation, Captain Morrison? We are grateful you have come, but I fear you are too late. The Vorthons landed their armies 3 days ago. They have taken most of our cities. Our government is hiding in the underwater city of Deep Current. We have maybe 50,000 people left alive from a population of 12 million. The numbers hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. 12 million people, and only 50,000 left alive. The Vorthons had killed over 11 million innocent beings in just 3 days. Where can we meet with your leaders? Jake asked. Deep Current is our last safe place. It is far under the ocean where the Vorthons cannot reach us, easily. But you must be careful. Their ships will try to stop you. Jake looked at his pilot. Hi, Tom. Can you get us down to the planet without being seen? Lieutenant Tom Hayes studied. His instruments? Maybe, sir. If we stay close to the planet's magnetic field, their sensors might not pick us up clearly. But it will be dangerous. Do it, Jake ordered. The Ranger dropped toward the planet's surface. They flew through clouds of smoke and ash from the burning cities. Below them, they could see the destruction the Vorthons had caused. Entire cities were gone, replaced by smoking craters. Rivers ran red with blood. Dr. Peter Collins joined Jake on the bridge. The ship's doctor looked pale and shocked as he stared at the devastation below. My God, Jake, how could anyone do this to innocent people? Peter asked. I don't know, Doc, but we're going to help who we can, Jake replied. They reached the coordinates Coral Singer Meln had given them. The ocean here was deep blue and clear, but strange structures rose from the water. These were Zephyrian buildings, made of what looked like living coral and sea plants. I'm getting a signal to follow an underwater guide beam, Tom reported. The Ranger dove beneath the waves. Jake had never taken his ship underwater before, but the vessel was built for space travel and could handle the pressure. They followed glowing markers down into the dark depths. Deep Current was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The city was built inside huge underwater caverns, with buildings that seemed to grow from the seafloor like coral reefs. Thousands of Zephyrians swam through the water-filled streets. They looked like dolphins, but with arms and hands that could work with tools. The Ranger docked at what seemed to be a landing area designed for visiting ships. As soon as they were secure, Jake, Amy, and Dr. Collins put on their diving suits and went outside to meet the Zephyrians. Choral singer Melm was waiting for them. She was beautiful in an alien way, with smooth blue-green skin and large, intelligent eyes. When she spoke, her voice made musical sounds like water flowing over stones. Captain Morrison, welcome to Deep Current. I am sorry you must see our world. In such darkness, she said through a translation device. We came as soon as we got your message, Jake replied. How can we help? Choral singer Milne led them through the underwater city to a large chamber where other Zephyrian leaders waited. The room was filled with the soft sound of their water music language. These are the last members of our Council of Currents, Meln explained. I will translate for them. An old Zephyrian with silver markings on his skin swam forward. Meln listened to his musical words, then turned to Jake. This is Council Prime Reef Keeper Dan. He leads what remains of our government. He wants to. Thank you for coming, but he also wants you to understand something important. Jake waited as the old alien spoke again. He says your people are new to the stars. We know humans have only recently learned to travel between worlds. We do not expect miracles from you. If you can save even a few thousand of our children and take them to safety, we will be grateful forever. The sadness in the alien leaders' words broke Jake's heart. These people had given up hope of being truly saved. They just wanted some of their children to survive. Tell him we'll do everything we can, Jake said. But I need to know more about the Vorthans. How many soldiers do they have? What kind of weapons? Ref Keeper Dan spoke with several other council members. Their musical voices sounded urgent and frightened. The Vorthans have landed about 100,000 soldiers, Meln translated. Their weapons can destroy entire city blocks with one shot. Their ships in orbit can crack continents if they want to. We tried to fight them at first, but our weapons are designed for hunting sea creatures, not war. We are not a military people, Captain Morrison. We are artists and philosophers. We never learned how to kill. Dr. Collins spoke up. What about your population? Are there medical facilities we can help with? Wounded people we can treat? Many are injured, but we are more worried about the children. The Vorthans take prisoners to use as slaves. They prefer young, healthy workers. Thousands of our children have already been taken to their prison ships. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. The Vorthons were not just conquering this world, they were stealing children to make them slaves. Captain Amy whispered to him. I'm picking up Vorthon communications. They know we're here. A patrol fleet is heading this way. Jake nodded. They didn't have much time. Ref Keeper Dan, we need to start evacuation immediately. My ship can carry about 1,000 of your people. It's not much, but it's a start. The old alien's eyes grew wide with surprise. Through Meln, he replied, you would risk your ship and crew for us? Strangers you have never met? Yes, Jake said simply, because it's the right thing to do. They prepared to leave the underwater city. Jake couldn't stop thinking about the numbers. 50,000 survivors, and he could only save 1,000 at a time. Even if he made 50 trips, how many would die while he was traveling back and forth? But there was something else troubling him. In his last communication with Earth, Admiral Kane had sounded different, like she was planning something big. Jake hoped reinforcements were coming, but he couldn't count on it for now. All he could do was save who he could and pray it would be enough. The UES Ranger had just finished loading 1,000 Zephyrian refugees when the warning alarm started screaming. Captain Jake Morrison ran to the bridge as his crew worked frantically at their stations. Report, Jake shouted over the noise. Sir, we have incoming Vorthan ships. 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen fighters. They'll be here in 10 minutes, Lieutenant Amy Foster called out. Jake looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships were much larger than the Ranger, and they had enough firepower to destroy his vessel with ease. But they couldn't run now. Not with 1,000 innocent aliens depending on them. Get us to the surface and prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace, Jake ordered. We need to get these refugees to safety. But before they could move, something unexpected happened. Jake's communication system lit up with an incoming message. The signal was coming from the largest Vorthan ship, human vessel. This is War Chief Thaxon of the Vorthon 4th Battle Fleet. You will respond immediately or be destroyed. Jake hesitated for a moment, then activated the communication link. The main screen flickered to life, showing the alien commander. War Chief Thaxon was a terrifying sight. He stood over 7 feet tall, with thick gray skin covered in battle scars. His face was like a cross between a shark and a lizard, with rows of sharp teeth and cold black eyes. Metal implants covered parts of his head and arms, probably weapons or communication devices. I am Captain Morrison of the Earth Vessel Ranger, Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. Thaxon studied Jake for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding stone. Human, your species is new to this part of the galaxy. I have heard stories about your people, but I have never seen one of your ships before. The alien commander seemed almost curious. Your vessel has interesting technology. It's more advanced than I expected from such a young race. We're here on a humanitarian mission, Jake replied. We're evacuating civilians who are in danger. Thaxon laughed. The sound made Jake's skin crawl. It was like listening to metal being torn apart. Humanitarian mission. You speak of the Zephyrians as if they matter. They are weak creatures who cannot defend themselves. The natural order of things, the strong take what they want from the weak. This is how the galaxy works. That's not how we see things, Jake said firmly. No, then perhaps your species has potential after all. Thaxon leaned forward, his black eyes gleaming. I will make you an offer, human captain. Your people, clearly warriors, or you would not have come here alone to face my fleet. Join the Vorthan Empire, serve under my command, and we will teach you the ways of conquest. Together, we can rule entire star systems. Jake felt sick listening to the alien's words. We're not interested in conquest, or ruling anyone. Then what do you want? Thaxon asked, sounding genuinely confused. We want to help people who are in trouble. We want peace. Thaxon stared at Jake for several seconds, then started laughing again. Peace. There is no peace in this galaxy, only temporary truces between wars. But I admire your courage, even if your goals are foolish. The war chief's expression suddenly became serious and threatening. Here is my final offer, Captain Morrison. You have 1 ship against my 200 vessels. Take whatever refugees you can fit in that small ship of yours and leave this system. In return, I will not add your homeworld to my list of future conquests. Refuse, and I will hunt down every human colony in the galaxy and turn your people into slaves. Jake could hear the refugees in his ship's cargo hold. Men, women, and children who had already lost everything they cared about. How could he abandon the other 49,000 Zephyrians still trapped on the planet? I need time to think about your offer, Jake said. You have 24 hours, Thaxon replied. After that, I will complete the harvesting of this world. Any ship still in this system will be destroyed. The communication link went dead. Jake stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. 24 hours to somehow save 49,000 innocent people with 1 small ship against an enemy fleet of 200 warships. It was impossible. Dr. Peter Collins entered the bridge looking worried. Jake, I've been working with the refugees in the cargo hold. These people have been through hell. Some of them haven't eaten in days. Well, many are wounded, and they're all terrified. What are they saying? Jake asked. They keep asking if more human ships are coming. They want to know if Earth is sending a rescue fleet. Peter paused. I told them I didn't know. What should I tell them, Jake? Before Jake could answer, Amy Foster spoke up from her station. "Captain, I'm getting a priority message from Earth. Command Admiral Kane wants to speak with you immediately." The main screen showed Admiral Lisa Kane sitting in what looked like a military command center. Behind her, Jake could see dozens of officers working at computer stations. Everyone looked busy and urgent. "Jake, I've been following your situation. How many refugees do you have on board?" the Admiral asked. 1,000, Admiral, but there are 49,000 more on the planet. The Vorthan commander is giving us 24 hours to leave the system. Admiral Kane nodded grimly. "I expected as much. Jake, I need you to do something that might seem strange. I want you to go back to the Zephyrian leaders and tell them something specific." "What should I tell them?" "Tell them that help is coming. Tell them that Earth keeps its promises. And tell them to prepare their people for evacuation. All of them." Jake was confused. "Admiral, with respect, I only have one ship. I can't evacuate 50,000 people in 24 hours. It's mathematically impossible." Admiral Kane smiled for the first time since Jake had known her. "Captain Morrison, you're thinking too small. Earth doesn't do anything halfway. When we commit to helping someone, we commit completely." "I don't understand." "You will. Trust me and deliver that message. And Jake, make sure you document everything that happens in the next day. History is about to be made." The communication ended, leaving Jake more confused than ever. What was Admiral Kane planning? How could Earth possibly help when they were so far away? Lieutenant Tom Hayes looked up from his navigation station. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual readings at the edge of the star system. Might be sensor ghosts, but something big is moving out there." Jake went back down to the refugee areas of his ship. The Zephyrians were crowded together in spaces meant for cargo, but they weren't complaining. Choral singer Meln approached him as soon as he arrived. "Captain Morrison, will you be able to take more of our people? The Vorthans are preparing for their final attack on Deep Current. Our remaining people have maybe 12 hours before the enemy breaks through our defenses." Jake remembered Admiral Kane's words. "Meln, I need you to contact your people and tell them something important. Help is coming. Earth is sending more ships. Tell everyone to get ready for evacuation." Meln's large eyes went wide with surprise. "More ships? How many?" "I don't know yet. But prepare everyone. All 50,000 people." "Captain, that is wonderful news. But how's it possible? Your world is so far away." Jake looked out through the ship's windows at the stars. Somewhere out there, something was happening. He could feel it. Because Earth doesn't abandon people who call for help. And because sometimes the cavalry arrives just when you need it most. 23 hours had passed since War Chief Thaxon gave his ultimatum. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the EU's Ranger, watching the countdown timer on his screen. 1 hour left before the Vorthons would attack. The enemy fleet had moved closer to the planet during the night. 200 dark warships surrounded Kepler-44 to be like hungry wolves. Their weapons were charged and ready to finish destroying the Zephyrian civilization. "Any word from Earth Command?" Jake asked for the 10th time that hour. Lieutenant Amy Foster shook her head. "Nothing, sir. All we're getting is background static." Jake felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. He had promised the Zephyrians that help was coming, but the 24 hours were almost up. His one small ship couldn't fight an entire enemy fleet. "Captain, I'm still getting those strange sensor readings from the outer system," Lieutenant Tom Hayes reported. "Whatever's out there, it's getting stronger." Before Jake could respond, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Amy Foster looked up from her station with wide eyes. "I'm getting massive gravitational distortions at the edge of the system. It's like space itself is bending." On the main screen, they could see stars beginning to shift and blur. The fabric of space-time was rippling like water, creating waves of distortion that made the distant stars dance. War Chief Thaxon's voice suddenly filled the bridge as he broadcast to all ships in the system. "What is this?" "Report."
"What are these
readings?" The Vorthan commander sounded worried for the first time since Jake had met him. His sensors were probably screaming warnings about the gravitational anomalies. Then it happened. A hole opened in space itself. Not gradually, but suddenly, like a door being kicked open. Through the swirling portal came a ship that made Jake's heart stop. The UES Leviathan emerged from hyperspace first. It was Earth's newest dreadnought, a monster of a warship over 3 kilometers long. Its hull was covered with weapon turrets and armor plating. Energy crackled around its massive engines as it took position in the system. But the Leviathan was just the beginning. More holes opened in space. The UES Liberty appeared. Then the UES Victory. Then the UES Defiance. Ship after ship poured through the hyperspace windows like an avalanche of metal and firepower. Jake had never seen so many human vessels in one place. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and support ships filled the star system. Craft launched from the carriers in swarms, creating clouds of tiny ships that moved like flocks of deadly birds. "My God," Dr. Peter Collins whispered from beside Jake. "How many ships are there?" Amy Foster was frantically working at her station, trying to count the new arrivals. "I'm reading over 800 ships, sir. 3 full battle fleets. This is the largest human military force ever assembled." The UES Defiance, Admiral Lisa Kane's flagship, took position at the center of the massive formation. It was a beautiful ship, sleek and powerful. With the blue and white colors of Earth painted on its hull, Admiral Kane's voice suddenly filled the communication channels, broadcasting to every ship in the system. "This is Admiral Lisa Kane of the Terran Defense Force, Vorthan vessels. You're ordered to withdraw from this system immediately and release all Zephyrian prisoners. This is your only warning." Jake looked at his tactical display. The human fleet had completely surrounded the Vorthan ships. What had been a 200-to-1 advantage for the enemy was now a 4-to-1 advantage for Earth. But it wasn't just the numbers that mattered. It was the technology. The human ships were bristling with weapons Jake had never seen before. Kinetic cannons that could punch through asteroids, plasma arrays that glowed like captive stars, and defensive shields that made the ships shimmer like mirages. War Chief Thaxon's response came quickly. For the first time, he sounded uncertain. "Human fleet. This is War Chief Thaxon. Where did you come from? How did you get here so quickly?" Admiral Kane's reply was ice cold. "We've been traveling for 3 days, ever since we received Captain Morrison's first report. Earth doesn't abandon those who call for help." Thaxon snarled. "No fleet this size could travel so far so fast. You're about to learn what's possible when you threaten innocent people," Admiral Kane replied. "Surrender now, or face the consequences." Jake opened a communication channel to Admiral Kane's ship. "Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. Permission to report." "Granted, Captain. You've done excellent work here. How are the refugees?" 1,000. "Safely aboard, Admiral." "But there are 49,000 more on the planet. Not for long. All ships begin Operation Rising Tide. I want dropships launched to every Zephyrian population center. Medical teams, engineering corps, and security forces are to begin immediate evacuation and aid operations." Jake watched in amazement as the massive human fleet went into action. Hundreds of smaller ships detached from the main vessels and headed toward the planet's surface. These weren't just rescue ships, they were mobile hospitals, construction vehicles, and transport craft designed to help entire populations. War Chief Thaxon tried one last threat. "Admiral Kane, you may have more ships than I expected, but we still have weapons. If you try to take our prisoners, we will destroy them rather than give them up." The temperature in Admiral Kane's voice dropped to absolute zero. "War Chief Thaxon, let me explain something to you. Earth spent the last 3 days preparing for this moment. We've studied your ships, your weapons, your tactics, and your psychology. We know exactly how to deal with bullies like you." Human fighter squadrons suddenly appeared around every Vorthan ship. The fighters were small and fast, but they carried precision weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. "You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded," Admiral Kane continued. "Any ship that fires on civilians or refugees will be destroyed instantly." Any ship that tries to flee will be disabled and captured. You came here to conquer. Now you get to face the consequences." Now Jake could see panic spreading through the Vorthan fleet. Their ships were trying to organize a defense, but the human vessels were everywhere. The Earth fleet moved like a living thing, with perfect coordination between hundreds of ships. War Chief Thaxon made his final mistake. Instead of surrendering, he ordered his ships to attack. All vessels, fire at will. Destroy the human fleet. Battle lasted exactly 6 hours and 23 minutes. Human tactics were unlike anything the Vorthans had ever faced. Earth's ships didn't just fight, they protected. Every human vessel that engaged an enemy ship also positioned itself to shield. Zephyrian population centers from stray weapons fire. The human fighters swarmed around Vorthon warships, like insects around a light, using precision strikes to disable weapons and engines without destroying the ships entirely. When Vorthan vessels tried to use their own fighters, found themselves outnumbered 10-1 by human pilots, who flew like they were born in space. The larger human ships demonstrated firepower that made the Vorthon's weapons look like toys. A single shot from the UES Leviathan's main cannon could punch through 3 Vorthan ships in a row. But the most shocking thing for the Vorthans was how the humans treated prisoners. When Vorthan ships were disabled, human boarding parties treated the survivors with medical care and fair treatment. No executions, no torture, just professional military conduct. War Chief Thaxon's flagship was the last to surrender. When human Marines boarded his ship, they found him staring at tactical displays he couldn't understand, was all he said. When Admiral Kane appeared on his screen, "How did you do this?" "Simple," Admiral Kane replied. "We came here to protect innocent people. You came here to hurt them. That made all the difference." As Jake watched human ships efficiently rescuing Zephyrian civilians from the planet below, he realized something important had just happened. Earth hadn't just won a battle, they had announced themselves to the galaxy as its new protectors. And, from the look of respect and gratitude in Coral Singer Meln's eyes, the galaxy was ready to listen. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler 4, for 2B, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the UES Harmony. Through the large windows, he could see something that would have been impossible before Earth's arrival in this part of the end. Galaxy, human, and Zephyrian crew members worked side by side at control stations. The bridge was filled with the musical sound of Zephyrian speech mixed with human voices. What had started as a desperate rescue mission had become the foundation of the first true alliance between Earth and an alien species. "Captain, we're receiving a message from the Galactic Council," reported Lieutenant Amy Foster. She had been promoted and transferred to Jake's new ship as his first officer. "They want to invite Earth to send representatives to their next meeting." Jake smiled. The Galactic Council had ignored Earth for years, treating humans as newcomers who weren't worth their attention. But after word spread about what happened at Kepler 4-4b, everything had changed. "Tell them Admiral Kane will consider their invitation," Jake replied. "But remind them that Earth makes its own decisions about who we help and when." The story of Earth's rescue fleet had traveled across the galaxy faster than any ship could fly. Within weeks, dozens of alien species were talking about the humans who had brought 800 warships to save strangers they had never met. Dr. Peter Collins entered the bridge, carrying a data pad filled with reports. "Jake, you need to see the latest numbers from the relief effort." Jake took the pad and read through the information. The numbers were amazing. In 6 months, Earth had completely rebuilt the Zephyrian world. Human engineering teams had constructed new cities that were stronger and more beautiful than the ones the Vorthons had destroyed. Medical teams had treated every injured Zephyrian and set up hospitals that would serve them for generations. But the most important number is at the bottom of the report: 0. That was how many Zephyrians had died from war-related causes since the human fleet arrived. Earth had saved every single survivor. "There's more good news," Peter continued. "The Zephyrians want to share their cultural archives with Earth. Their art, music, and philosophy. They say it's a gift to thank us for saving their people." Jake nodded. The Zephyrian culture was beautiful and peaceful. Their artists created sculptures from living coral that grew and changed over time. Their musicians made songs that sounded like ocean waves and whale calls. Their philosophers had spent centuries thinking about how different species could live together in harmony. Earth had much to learn from such a wise and gentle people. Captain Amy called from her station. "We're getting an emergency signal. It's coming from the Altair system, about 15 light years from here." Jake walked over to listen. The message was in a language the ship's computer didn't recognize, but the tone was unmistakable. Fear, desperation, and a plea for help. "Can we translate it?" Jake asked. Amy worked at her controls for several minutes. "The computer is learning the language patterns, similar to one we have in our databases. Give me a moment." Slowly, words began to form from the alien sounds. "This is the crystalline collective of Altair Prime. Our world is under attack by the Vorthan Second Fleet. They demand our surrender.
Ow.
We have heard stories of the humans who saved the Zephyrians. If you can hear this message, please help us. We are a peaceful people with no weapons to defend ourselves." Jake felt the familiar anger rising in his chest. The Vorthans were at it again, attacking innocent people who couldn't fight back. "Amy, get me Admiral Kane on the emergency channel." Minutes. Admiral Kane's face appeared on the main screen. She was sitting in her office on Earth, but Jake could see the determination in her eyes. "Admiral, we're receiving a distress call from the Altair system. The Vorthons are attacking another peaceful species." Admiral Kane nodded grimly. "We've been expecting this. After their defeat at Kepler 4-4b, the Vorthan Empire has been trying to rebuild their reputation by attacking easier targets. How many ships do they have? Unknown, but probably another full battle fleet. At least 100 ships, maybe more. And how many people need to be evacuated?" Jake looked at Amy, who was already working on the answer. "The Crystalline Collective has about 2 million people on their homeworld, Admiral." Admiral Kane was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she smiled the same cold smile Jake had seen before the Battle of Kepler 4-4b. "Jake, I want you to take your ship to Altair immediately. Contact the Crystalline Collective and tell them help is coming. Tell them to prepare for full evacuation." "What about reinforcements, Admiral? How many ships are you sending?" "All of them." Jake's eyes widened. "All of them? You mean the entire Earth fleet?" "That's exactly what I mean." 3 weeks ago, the Earth Defense Council approved something called the Terran Protection Doctrine. Any species facing extinction or slavery can call upon Earth for aid. We're not just going to help the Crystalline Collective. We're going to make sure the Vorthans never attack innocent people again. The communication ended, and Jake felt a familiar excitement building in his chest. Earth was going to war again. But this time it would be different. This time they wouldn't just defeat the enemy. They would send a message to the entire galaxy. The journey to Altair took 2 days. When they arrived, Jake saw a scene similar to what they had found at Kepler 4-4b. Vorthan ships surrounded a beautiful world, bombarding cities and military installations. But this time, Jake wasn't worried. "Open a channel to the Crystalline Collective," he ordered. The aliens who answered his call were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. They looked like living gemstones, with bodies made of crystal that reflected light and rainbow patterns. Their leader introduced herself as Prime Crystal Serenity. "Human Captain, we are grateful you have come, but we fear it may be too late. The Vorthons have given us 12 hours to surrender or face complete destruction. Prime Crystal Serenity, I need you to trust me. Help is coming. Earth is sending our entire fleet to protect your people. Prepare everyone for evacuation." "Your entire fleet? But why would you risk so much for strangers?" Jake thought about all the events that had led to this moment. The first distress call from the Zephyrians, the desperate battle against impossible odds, and the moment when Earth's massive fleet had appeared like angels of war. Because 6 months ago, someone taught us something important. In this galaxy, there are those who hurt innocent people and those who protect them. Earth has chosen which side we're on. As Jake spoke, space began to ripple at the edge of the Altair system. But this time, it wasn't just 3 fleets coming through hyperspace. This time, it was every ship Earth had ever built. Over 1,500 vessels emerged from the portals. Not just warships, but hospital ships, construction vessels, colony ships, and mobile factories. Earth wasn't just coming to fight, they were coming to stay. The message that Admiral Kane broadcast to the Vorthan fleet was heard across the galaxy. And this is Admiral Lisa Kane of the Terran Defense Force to the Vorthan Empire and any other species that preys on the innocent. Your days of conquest are over. Earth is now the protector of the peaceful peoples of this galaxy. Any attack on defenseless civilians will be met with the full force of humanity. The Battle of Altair lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the Vorthon's Second Fleet had been completely destroyed or captured. But more importantly, news of Earth's victory spread to every corner of the galaxy within days. Species that had lived in fear for centuries suddenly had hope. The Vorthans and other aggressive empires found themselves facing a new reality. It was now a power in the galaxy that fought not for conquest or profit, but for justice. Jake stood on the bridge of the Harmony watching human engineers work, alongside crystalline collective builders to repair the damage from the Vorthan attack. In the distance, he could see Zephyrian hospital ships treating wounded civilians, while human medical teams worked to save lives. Captain Amy said softly, "I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. 17 different species have sent messages, asking for Earth's protection. They want to form alliances with us." Jake nodded. Earth had started as the new species in the galaxy, ignored and dismissed by the older civilizations. But in less than a year, they had become the galaxy's protector. Amy sent a message to all those species. Tell them that Earth's protection is freely given to any peaceful people who need it. But also tell them something else. What's that, sir? Tell them that Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to help it grow. We want to build something better than what came before. As Jake watched the mixed crews of humans and aliens working together, he realized that something amazing was happening. The galaxy was changing. Instead of the strong conquering the weak, different species were learning to help each other. It had all started with a simple distress call from strangers in trouble. The Zephyrians had asked for help, hoping that someone, somewhere, might care enough to save a few of their children. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. They had discovered that among all the species in the galaxy, humans had something special. Not just advanced technology or powerful weapons, but something more important. Humans had the ability to care about strangers, to risk everything for people they had never met, and to fight not for what they could gain, but for what was right. The galaxy would never be the same. And in the deep ocean city,